Hey everybody, Baldoric here. Today we are going to be talking about Nemesis, the new Grand Hero battle unit in Fire Emblem Heroes, who is... he's cool, slightly disappointing. You got to do some work to really make him viable, but we'll talk a little bit about that. Some good stats minus his speed, and we'll talk about why that's really going to affect him. But he does come with a preference weapon, which is the Dark Creator Sword, which grants defense +3. During combat, it boosts the unit's attack and defense by number of allies with HP above 90%, times 2, max 6. During unit's first combat and player phase or enemy phase, reduce damage from attacks during combat and from area effect specials. Blah, 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 by percentage of number of allies with HP above 90%, times 15, maximum 45%. Whew, a whole lot of math. Basically, damage reduction on weapon as long as there are allies close. Attack defense boost as long as allies are close. Now, primarily, I am not going to be using this weapon a lot. The reason is I think there are weapons that are more consistent than this particular one. The damage reduction is useful, but I think that there are other weapons that can do similar jobs with more general use, and we'll talk a little bit about that with the first build, which is an AR build. This makes use of Carrot Cudgel, which I personally use with my Itsuki build for my AR, and it has great success. Let's talk a little bit about why I'm choosing this build. Now, his speed stat is garbage. Hitting 28 without hitting the, if you don't have the dragon fruit or whatever it's called. But once I change his trait to have speed, it goes up to 31. Now, I'm choosing to do attack speed solo and speed res solo. So if this is proccing, now let's say you have the Brave Lucina on your team, right? You do a shove, so you're getting the boost from her. You're getting 13 speed from your A slot and your S slot. So just from the 13 speed, you're going up to, 44 speed, which isn't terrible. Boost on Brave Lucina. Boost with, because you can probably put some drive speeds on her. His speed stat finally gets up to close to or passing 50s if you have the right stuff on him, and if you're, or whoever you have being his ally has the right things to give him with, like, speed something link, probably speed res link in his case. If you have something like that going on, his speed stat finally hits where it needs to be to double or at least prevent being doubled. You have low attack defense. You could use attack speed here instead, or speed defense. Any of those are viable. Or if you want to use a null, that does work because null skills are going to actually matter when his speed actually hits those stats. I chose to do low attack defense here just to guarantee some kills. His attack stat is pretty high. You want to make sure you're getting that. And if Carrot Cudgel is going off in attack and speed solo, you're getting a nice 11 extra attack, which is 72. Plus whatever your bonuses are from your allies. So his attack stat gets pretty high, which hopefully will let you one-shot. And with Soul carrying that damage over from the damage you inflict, healing back a little bit, with a defense of 47, res of 43, base, not even counting the buffs he's getting from his weapon, speed, solo, and allies, he's going to survive quite a bit. Now, again, you do have to put a lot of work into getting that speed stat up. Like, it's so important to get it up or else he is going to be doubled and most likely will die if that happens. Depends on what you're going against. And he is a red, which means if you're going against an Ophelia, well, too bad, pretty much. But if there is a team that warrants using a red unit, I think he actually can do a good job as long as you put the investment in. You put the work into getting that speed stat up, and you have to do quite a bit to do that. Brave Lucina is almost a must. There are other units that can work pretty good, like Mordecai actually does pretty decent in this slot here, but definitely needs work to be viable for this kind of a role. It can work, just gotta work for it. Now for AR, we can do something a little bit different. We're still gonna do something a little bit extra with that speed stat, but I'm gonna use Wodeo here for that extra damage. Now, a lot of people aren't going to be using this in that slot, and you don't have to by any means. You could use Dark Creator Sword for this. You could use pretty much any other sword that you think works in this role. I'm choosing to do this because we're trying to get, let's say he's the bonus unit, we're trying to get kills. You want as much extra damage as possible, so we're doing something like this. We're going to do the lull speed defense on this build because we want to guarantee getting those doubles. The joint drive speed because 1, it's going to be buffing the allies around him, and 2, giving him that buff as well. his speed stat is definitely getting into that doubling territory. And as long as you make sure you're not going against unbelievably fast enemies, he's going to be able to get the job done. He's going to score pretty well. It does work for this kind of a role. Now, like I said, Wodeo is not necessary. You could use like an armor counter in this slot. You could use like a buffing weapon in this slot if you want him to kind of buff the allies around him. It kind of depends on what you want to do. His weapon slot is super up to whatever you want it to be. But I think this general build most definitely works for what we're looking at here. I just opted for the extra damage because we want to guarantee kills, excuse me, to get those points in arena. Completely up to you. A slot is most definitely whatever you want it to be. Or not A slot, I'm sorry. Weapon slot was whatever you want it to be. But I think he actually works really well in arena as long as the people around him, your teammates, do buff him well. Now, finally, the budget build. How to use him? Oh, I kept Ruptured Sky. That's not budget at all. Well, that's supposed to be Glimmer. My bad. So if you're watching this, Ruptured Sky is supposed to be Glimmer. I totally forgot to change that. That's completely my bad. That should be Glimmer. So, not Ruptured Sky, but we want to use just like a standard movement assist skill. Fury 3 is pretty much a staple on most base builds here. We're going to keep the chill attack on his base kit, mostly because it does have some utility. It can help the other allies on your team. Drive attack, same idea. We're going to be helping the people on your team. A quick repose, because if you can get him to take those hits, let's say a green, like an axe user is coming in, right? He can take that and then hit twice. And with 58 attack, honestly, that's pretty good. And with Glimmer, not Ruptured Sky, he's going to be able to get that off on that second on his second attack, because obviously it's enemy hit. He hits, Glimmer's ready, Glimmer goes off. So you are going to have that going off during combat with using Quick Repose. I do think this build works pretty decent for a budget build. You can change the B slot, you can change the C slot. Very interchangeable to what you need his teams to do. I just kind of chose to keep Chill Attack because it comes in his base kit, and it does have utility for the other people in your team. So, that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you liked it, consider subscribing. I'm going to put out more videos just like this one in the future for any other standalone units like him. If you want to see more content like this, consider following my Twitter. I do retweet everything Fire Emblem Heroes and other things like that. I post my builds, my projects, and things like that if you want to see it, and if you want to ask me questions, that's one of the best places to do it. So, again, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time.